Coming up, New York honors the fallen heroes on the 20th anniversary of 9/11. And later, the Iowa City Police were busy this weekend with car chases and gunshots.
The CyHawk trophy remains in our hands as it is still a Hawkeye state. I'll tell you more in sports.
Will it ever feel like fall in Iowa City, or are we in for another hot and sunny week? I'll tell you more in weather.
On this Monday morning edition of DITV News. Don't go anywhere, DITV News starts right now. Good morning and thank you for tuning in. I'm Ashley Wheel. This weekend was the 20th anniversary of 9/11, and people across the country took time to mourn, reflect, and remember the chaos of the day and the lives that were lost. We have Managing Editor of the Daily Iowan, Josie Fischels, in the newsroom to tell us more about how the city of New York was feeling on this fateful anniversary. Josie, how did New York City commemorate the 20th anniversary of 9/11?
Feel a lot of mourning and remembrance and reflection. 20 years ago, the Daily Iowan sent a team of journalists to report on the aftermath of the towers falling. And 20 years later, we also sent 2 journalists, myself and a photographer, to report on the events 20 years later. So even before the commemoration that took place on 9/11, the night before, you could see people gathering around the outskirts of the memorial and museum, placing flowers, paying respects, and being in that atmosphere that was certainly somber. In the morning, there was a private ceremony just for families of the victims of 9/11, and even on the outskirts of that, people who had not been affected personally or maybe had been but had not lost anyone were surrounding, listening, and just the atmosphere there was that of mourning. And remembrance even 20 years later. So it was definitely an interesting place to be as a young person who does not remember 9/11, but it was a very impactful experience nonetheless.
It has been 2 decades since 9/11. What did you notice about how people were remembering this year?
Yeah, I was particularly interested to see that even as people are getting older and older and these events are getting further and further from us, the impact is no less than it was 20 years ago. You can see that America has obviously come a long way. We have just now ended the war that began in 2001 and retracted back to the US. So a lot has changed physically, and maybe a lot of things have changed as a result of 9/11, both financially and our infrastructure, everything related to that. But in terms of memories, in terms of how we view ourselves as America, it's certainly been strengthened, but not a lot has changed in terms of how we still remember all of these people who were lost.
Thanks, Josie. On Sunday, gunshots were heard in the early hours of the morning. At 3:16 a.m., the first shots were reported, having been heard around Calvin Hall on campus. At 4:36 a.m., another alert sent out warned students to, quote, stay vigilant and be aware of surroundings, end quote. Currently, the police are investigating and ask that people resume normal activities. In other police news, an Illinois man faces charges after a high-speed chase with the ICPD ends on the UI president's lawn. 18-year-old Ira Wright was taken into custody around 1:30 a.m. on September 11th after police stopped his vehicle on Church Street. He faces charges of eluding police, drunk driving, reckless driving, public intoxication, and failure to obey traffic laws. The Biden administration has announced a plan to power airplanes and jets with sustainable fuel from crops, an initiative that will likely have a big effect on Iowa. The goal is to produce 35 billion gallons of sustainable fuel to meet 100% of the U.S. demand by 2050. The hope is that this will help cut greenhouse gases, but also open up a new market for the nation's top ethanol producer, Iowa. U.S. Secretary Tom Vilsack said, quote, we can expand our ability to power the nation's aviation sector with fuel grown right here at home with hardworking Americans while creating economic opportunity for American farmers, business owners, and rural communities, end quote. It is estimated that this project would take about $4.3 billion in funding to have all aviation fuel switched to renewable sources. Right now, Delta, American Airlines, and United Airlines have started the process to use more sustainable fuel. This initiative would double the nation's existing biofuel supply and help find new uses for reusable energies. Currently, aviation represents 11% of the U.S. travel-related greenhouse gas emissions, and transportation overall contributes 29% of gases that cause global warming. It is the most destructive contributor, precedes only by power plants. This comes at an important time for the Biden administration, as Iowa farmers have shown concerns over Biden's commitment to clean and sustainable energy. While it was definitely a hot one this weekend, let's toss it over to the weather studio to see if fall weather is finally on its way to Iowa City.
Thanks, Ashley. If you were hoping to break out those fall sweaters, this week is not the time to do it. Today will be 86 degrees and partly cloudy. It will get down to 70 degrees by nightfall. And tomorrow will be about the same with a high of 81 and a low of 56. It will start to cool off a bit as we get into the week, but only by a few degrees. Mostly, we will be dealing with a lot of sun and mid to high 80-degree weather this week, Hawkeyes. Although it is fitting that it's so hot outside, as our Hawkeyes were on fire this weekend on the football field. Let's pass it over to Marin for an inside look at our players.
The CyHawk Trophy stays in Iowa City yet again as the Hawkeyes controlled the Cyclones in their top 10 showdown with a 27-17 win on Saturday. This type of start to the season can't get any better for the Hawkeyes, as they are the only team with 2 top 25 wins so far and are ranked number 5 in the AP rankings. This is the highest they have been ranked since 2015. Quote, "I am super proud of this team so far. We are 2-0 with 2 wins against 2 really good football teams. And so it's definitely exciting and something to be proud of and something to enjoy today," end quote. You can't help but give all the credit to their defense. Iowa's defense forced Iowa State's quarterback Brock Purdy to 3 turnovers and forced a fumble from Iowa State's star running back Breece Hall and returned it for a touchdown. On the offensive end, senior receiver Charlie Jones led with 2 receptions for 36 yards, with one of them being a touchdown from a tough pass thrown by QB Spencer Petras. Quote, "There's no secret formula. We play defense the way we play it. And you're talking about 2 really good defensive football teams. Those guys do a great job every year and work hard and they're a tough team. I think our guys are the same way." Despite Iowa's dominating defense, their offense still had room for improvement after being held to a total of 68 rushing yards and 106 passing yards against Iowa State. There's room for improvement. We've just been talking about the standard, and each and every week we're trying to raise the standard, keep the standard, and just push everybody on the field. A lighter schedule fills up the rest of September for the Hawks as they take on Kent State this Saturday, then Colorado State and Maryland the following 2 weeks. Be sure to tune in next Monday to see if the Hawkeyes can continue their hot streak. And second-ranked Iowa field hockey team had another dominating weekend with 2 shutout wins over Ohio State and St. Louis. A 10-0 win yesterday over St. Louis improves their undefeated record, 6-0. Senior Ellie Hawley and junior Sophia Strybo led the team with 3 combined goals each. Quote, "7 Hawkeyes scoring, that's awesome, especially coming back from like last season. Now we see
or just getting to block kill for points. And so slowing down those primary attackers from Iowa State, but then also finding our balance offensively as well.
The Hawkeye defense was unstoppable, holding their opponent to a combined 2 shots, while the Hawks combined for 73 in the past 2 games. This is all the momentum the Hawks needed before they began their Big Ten play this Friday.
Talking about learning from the turnaround that we made in the 3rd and 4th set, and just carrying through and continuing our kind of execution mentality into tomorrow, and knowing that that's something that we can maintain.
To face the Hoosiers this Friday in their Big Ten conference opener. It was a tough start to the CyHawk series for the Iowa volleyball team, but they solidified a great finish this Saturday. In the final game on the CyHawk series, the Iowa volleyball team found their rhythm, sweeping Iowa State 3-0 to get their first win of the season. The night before, they faced Ball State, taking them to 5 sets but falling short 2-3. After the game, they knew they had to do something if they were going to defeat the Cyclones the next day. It's just putting our focus into making sure our defense and block is either funneling balls to our better defenders or just getting block kills for points, slowing down the primary attackers from Iowa State, but then also finding our balance offensively as well, end quote. The Hawks took a note from their comeback against Ball State on Friday and fine-tuned some key factors to take down the Cyclones. The Hawkeyes look to stay on a winning streak as they travel to Denver, Colorado this Friday to compete in the Mile High Invitational. The Iowa soccer team shut out Southeast Missouri State 2-0 yesterday. The win pushes the Hawkeyes 6-1-1 on the season. Junior Natalie Massa launched the ball into the back of the net for the first time in her collegiate career.
Practice, so I knew I was pretty confident in myself and my abilities, so I just had to put it away.
The Hawkeyes struggled to score in the first half, but outshot the Red Hawks 9-1. The halftime locker room reflection allowed the Hawkeyes to find their momentum to secure a win during the second half.
This week before Big Ten, so we know we had to step it up, so kind of just reset the mind, come out firing all defense and offense.
Hawkeyes open Big Ten play this Sunday at 1, where they will battle with the Northwestern Wildcats at home.
Thank you for tuning in to DITV Now. DITV News. Head over to thedailyiowan.com for all your latest news between Monday and Friday. And tune in Wednesday for our next live broadcast. I'm Ashley Wheel. Have a great day, Iowa City.